Hello, everybody. Welcome to Power, Peace, and Love, where real stories or real people are shared. I'm Irma Vera, and today I have a beautiful woman, Dr. Chelsea Page.
Hello.
Yes, of course. She is a licensed professional counselor, a relationship expert, and creator of Intentional Intimacy blog. Today, she will be sharing with us a very important topic: how to manage this coronavirus lockdown with your partner. Dr. Chelsea, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. Welcome to Power, Peace, and Love.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to have this chat. I think it's going to be really valuable. So I'm certainly excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And first of all, we want to ask you, how are you? And how's everybody? How's the family, friends, and how this coronavirus has impacted everybody's life?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for asking. Everything, thankfully, is really great with on my side of things. I'm living at home with my husband and my two dogs, and we're working at home and trying to navigate that. So I can certainly understand the being at home with your partner. So we'll be talking about that. And all my friends and family have been really good, just kind of getting antsy and wanting to see each other in person. So I think that's kind of what everyone's really feeling right now.
That's right. That's right. We're being also kind of, quarantined for such a long time now. It seems like forever. So people are outside, they're running, doing stuff. But yeah, I think it's time to go, to go back to little by little, go back to normal. So we'll see how it goes.
Yes, it will be a transition, that's for sure.
Yes. Dr. Chelsea, this lockdown has either bringing families together or apart. What did you say about that?
Yes, I think, this was a huge global, almost like a big boost to have everyone really focusing on their priorities and what really is important to them and what matters. And sometimes that has put a lot of either strain on relationships and families, or it's actually brought them closer. And I think this was really an opportunity for everybody to really assess, how do I want to be living my life? How do I want to be showing up in my family? How do I want to show up in my relationship? And it's been maybe a little bit trickier for some to really navigate, what that looks like, especially because we didn't ask for this. It just kind of got handed to us. So we were really forced to make a big change and transition really quickly. And those transitions can be really tough to make if we don't know how to do that.
That's correct. That's yes. People are really having a hard time, dealing with this situation. I mean, like I said, is taking a little longer, I guess, that people thought that a quarantine should be. But, now it's the relationships. It seems like you can hear all those things, right? And you can read about it.
Yes, it's certainly, this wasn't, again, something that any of us had asked for. And I think is, something we were even talking before we hopped on here is making sure that fear doesn't really run the show, and really looking again at this as an opportunity to really learn how to navigate big changes, because we're going to have big changes. This was just really a big global change that we all had to go through at the same time. But whether it's within yourself or your relationship or your family, change is going to happen. So it's really practicing those skills and tools of how to communicate with each other and how to express what your wants and needs are. That is what I think really makes or break whether this has been a time that's been handled really well, or whether this has been a time that has been really a struggle.
Yes, well, that comes to my next question, which is what does it take for a relationship to stay calm and to stay in harmony when normally schedules were too busy, and suddenly we find each other locked down at our house, for 24 hours. how do we manage that?
It is a big transition, and this happens also for a lot of couples when someone maybe loses, outside of this scenario, if someone maybe loses their job and someone already works from home, it's like, oh my goodness, you are home all the time now, how do we navigate this? Or couples where retirement happens, then it's, wow, we're not really busy with our work as much anymore, and we're kind of just like staring at each other, like, how do we really navigate being in such close proximity? And this was even more of a unique situation because we can't really go out and play and go see friends and family to get some more of that maybe space that a lot of us need. And, you know, for example, myself, I love my husband dearly, I love him to death, but I need my own space a lot of the time. And this is where it becomes such an important navigation, is one, recognizing, do you need some space or do you need some closeness? And really expressing that to your partner in a way that's gentle and inviting and not demanding. So I wouldn't tell my husband, you know, you're around me all the time, I need space from you, go away. That's not going to come across very well, and he's going to get defensive, and that's going to put you in a negative cycle, and that's where the disconnect starts to happen in the frustration. Instead, it's really advocating for your needs. And so I would say something like, oh my gosh, honey, I love you so much. And you know what? I really just need a night to myself. I really would love to watch, you know, my own silly chick flick movie or go take a bubble bath. And, you know, I would love to spend some time with you tomorrow night. But tonight is going to be just me time. You know, does that sound okay to you? Can we discuss that? So that kind of communication and navigation around that space and that closeness is what can be really helpful. And this will be really helpful even as you navigate, because a lot of countries, and you know, here where I'm in like Colorado, the gates are kind of opening a bit. And so many of us are starting to go back into society. So this transition time, you're going to have to keep communicating your needs. Otherwise, it's going to be conflict.
Do you think that when in a family there's, you know, a lot of children, do you think that makes it even worse in the relationship, you know, the couple relationship, and being, you know, at home, lockdown?
Yeah, so if you have little kiddos or even older kiddos, it certainly puts another variable and a factor in there that really can make it trickier, but it's not impossible. Part of this is really navigating, you know, how many people you have in your house. If it's, you know, you and a partner, or you and a partner and one kid, or you and a partner and a kid, and, you know, maybe your parents live with you, you all need to have these communications. And one of my favorite ways is to, especially now, is because things change so rapidly now, is to have check-ins. And it might be helpful to do check-ins on a daily basis and really create a routine around it. Maybe every day around dinner time, let's go around the table and make sure that everybody's needs are being met. Is there anything that somebody's need? Are you needing a little bit more space? Does somebody want the living room tonight? Can we really make sure that we're all on the same page and supporting each other's needs during this unique time and as we transition out?
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, it's, you know, a challenging times.
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask you this question though, because, you know, this is a concern that I got from, you know, from a website and other friends and people, and it says that the UN report on domestic violence emergency calls rose up 35% more cases in recent weeks amid coronavirus lockdown just in the US. What do you say about that?
I'm not surprised, and it certainly breaks my heart because, you know, a lot of people have been in this lockdown and not in really good situations, whether it's maybe they are on the verge of divorce and they are now kind of stuck with their partner in that way, or even so much where there's emotional abuse or physical abuse. And it's a really hard time to have had that happen. And this is something where no matter what, we always want to be supporting ourselves and reaching out for help when we need it. And, you know, even a lot of the concerns around, you know, depression and anxiety and, you know, suicide has come up a lot too, because it's been such a difficult time to really manage and navigate. And that's when you know, if you are in a situation like that where you're feeling, you know, there is that emotional abuse, physical abuse, or you're really struggling personally with any of that anxiety and depression, reach out. You know, there's a ton of resources online. There's what are they called? My mind is spacing now. Hotlines online that you can reach out and get that help and support, because if you have no idea what to do, somebody's been trained in that. So you can call that and reach out to make sure that you're protecting yourself in the best way that you can.
Wow. Yeah. We're going to say hello to some of our viewers, you know, Imelda. Thank you for always being there. Ada, thank you. Padme, thank you. And yes, we appreciate, you know, everybody that join us all the time. Thank you very much. And Dr. Chelsea, what is next? I mean, because we see that relationships, like I said before, some of them are getting better. You know, we get to know each other more. We spend more time with them. What's next after coronavirus? How this kind of lifestyle is gonna be?
Yes, and I think that is such an excellent question, and I think the whole world is wanting to know the answer to that. Is what is next? What is this going to look like? And you know, this goes back to something I said in the beginning, which is I personally feel that this was something that, although of course we didn't want it to happen in this way, it's very, very unfortunate. But I think this was an opportunity for us globally to really look at and assess, you know, how do we want to live our life, and how do we want to approach things, and how do we want to show up? You know, my whole brand is intentional intimacy, and you know, that intentionality, I really focus on what I call the intentional woman. And just as humans, we need to be intentional with, you know, what do we value, what is important to us in our lives, so that we are not going on autopilot and wing it mode. And so this is, you know, this whole time has been an opportunity. And even as we transition into a new normal, because it's not going to go back to normal, it's impossible. And I don't think we want it to go back to the way it was, because we need to evolve and grow and change and be more intentional. And so I would say for everyone who's maybe their state or country is starting to open the doors a little bit more, is really asking yourself and whoever is close around you, your partner or your family, how do we want to show up now? You know, what's important to us? Do we want to maybe do more family dinners because that really fell off? Or do we want to, you know, as a couple, I always strongly suggest is setting down really intentional intimacy time, you know, in a physical, sexual sense, is really being intentional of that closeness that happens, and not just hoping and wishing that it just happens, especially in a long-term relationship. So again, it's being intentional about how we show up, and asking yourself, what do I want that to look like, and what action steps do I need to take to actually make that happen?
Wow. I a few days ago I saw a couple, and they were talking to their family more often on Zoom. And they said, you know, I didn't think we used to have this gathering before. So it was kind of neat that they somehow kept connected in touch. And one of them mentioned that he sometimes they don't have the time. They don't make the time to, you know, personally being there. So I guess that's, you know, something that we really have to consider.
Yes, and I think that really hits on a really important point, is looking at, you know, as you move forward in life, and this is why, again, I think check-in points are so important. We need to have them more frequently now, because things are changing really quickly. But just overall, with, you know, you as a couple and you as a family, is having, I usually like to do quarterly sit-downs with my partner. We do kind of like a relationship business meeting. It's so not sexy. It's not supposed to be sexy. It's, you know, looking at, you know, what's been working, what hasn't been working, what do we want to do differently, so we can be intentional with our relationship. And so as you transition out of this, lockdown, the quarantine, it's a good opportunity to ask, okay, what did we like during this time? Did we like the fact that we, got to, get together more with family, and even we can use Zoom still. Maybe that's something we can use to our advantage, and maybe mix it up with some, online stuff and some in-person stuff. And you get to ask what didn't work, what things did not work during this time that we absolutely do not want to take with us into our new normal. And what maybe do we want to try something that's different and see what works. And then you just check in the next time, what worked, what didn't work, and what do we want to do differently.
Wow. Wow, that's absolutely beautiful. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice to hear those things, So what will be the tips that are more, effective in this case?
Mm-hmm. Some more tips that are helpful during this time is one of those things, as I said, is really recognizing that difference between if you're needing space and closeness and really advocating for that and having a conversation around that. And I would say too, that those check-ins, that's something that's really helpful and really valuable. And also something that has come up a lot, especially with those that I've worked with and in the area and community that I am a part of, is a lot of couples have been struggling with how do we navigate the fact that we are close together all the time, and how do we then go into that sexual and more intimate space. And for a lot of people, they might feel like I am not getting my needs met right now because I'm not able to go socialize with people, or maybe it's hard because gyms are closed now, so it's a little bit trickier to really take care of yourself and your body. And so again, it's navigating that and giving yourself some space and grace, because right now, maybe because your partner is home, maybe you're having all the sexual time together, or maybe right now you're just not feeling it, and that's totally okay. But again, it's having that conversation and seeing how can we make sure we're having everybody's needs met here, but not doing something that doesn't feel good. Because I know a lot of people right now, they're just kind of in a blah kind of place, and maybe being sexual is not quite on the forefront of your mind. And if this is you, then you can ask yourself, well, what can I do to feel better? All right, we get to be in charge of our own lives and how we feel. So if feeling better means going to take a bubble bath, or feeling better means snuggling up with your partner and watching a new movie, or feeling better is you need to go take a nap, that's what you do.
Yes. What do you say about this emotional toll that is all this situation, because on top of that, there comes the money problems,
Yes. Yeah.
losing the jobs. I mean, all those things that comes with this situation. What do you think?
It's been a big stressor, and I totally get that too. I mean, my own business it's gone all over the place, and it's really in this time, and again, this is an opportunity to learn how to approach changes and transitions in a way that you get to ground yourself and be in kind of in command of yourself, because external situations are always going to happen. It's just a given in our world, because we're not living in a vacuum and we're not robots. So things are going to happen. Family members are going to get ill. People are going to lose jobs. Your house is going to get on fire. Who knows? God forbid that happens. But things happen. And so during this time, if you are feeling stressed or feeling low or feeling lonely or any of those things, is really asking yourself, what can I do to feel more in line with feeling better? What can I do? And there are so many things you can do. Personally, I have been walking tons with my dogs. I have probably taken more baths than I've ever have, because it just helps just ground me. I've done journaling. I've made sure I've gone to bed. I've taken naps when I need to. I make sure I'm not just hanging out in my pajamas, which can be very tempting because we're all hanging out at home. But, and taking a shower, and, shaving my legs, those kind of things is still taking care of you. Because that, in my brand, Intentional Intimacy, the yourself, that's at the base of everything. So if you want to feel better in your relationship, if you want to feel better about your financial situation, if you want to feel better about all the craziness that's going on, you got to turn right to yourself and say, what can I do for me? And it's all the health and all the places to help yourself feel good, and try all the things if you don't know what that looks like.
Wow, that is wonderful. That is wonderful to hear. And yes, we all can.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So finally, Dr. Chelsea, we want to ask you for a message for our audience and for the people that is going to see us. And where can we find you?
Yes, well, I think just really the biggest message I want to send out right now to everyone listening is, again, that piece of really being intentional and making sure that you're taking care of you first, and then all of that gets to really span out to everybody that you love in your life. So when you're intentional about taking care of you, then you can really, it's almost like the sun. I call it like the sun. Our energy just shines right out. And that's where it goes to, is when you start with yourself. So make sure you're taking care of you, and you can. Even though we're in our homes, there's a lot of different things that you can do in your house to make sure that you are staying calm and grounded, and using it as a time to be intentional. Always intentional. Don't go on autopilot or wing it mode, as I say, I call it. And so, yes, that's probably one of the big messages here. And also, one of my biggest calming messages, because as I said before, my own financial situation is crazy. I mean, I've experienced all the same changes. And some people have asked me, like, how have you stayed so calm? Like, aren't you like freaking out? Like, what's happening? And it's this place of, as I take care of me, and the mantras I say of, this is not forever, just right now. Everything is going to be okay. I have no idea what that's going to look like, but I trust and know that myself and my husband will handle it, whatever that looks like. And, you know, if we both lose our jobs and we lose our house, and we'll just move in with my sister, and it becomes this place of, everything will be okay. So the more you can pull yourself out of that fear and out of the what ifs, the better you will be. And it takes practice doing that. I do have to say that.
That is wonderful. Thank you very much for that answer. It's beautiful. And one last question, because I forgot this, and I see that a lot of people are kind of looking these sessions, this people like you that counselors, because sometimes this situation is hard to handle.
Yeah.
What did you see? Uh, what's the topic that these people are more concerned about?
What's been showing up is really, it's a place of how to navigate that space and that closeness. And, there are some women that I work with that they are single, and so they're wondering how to deal with all the space that they have because they're feeling lonely, and how to manage that. And that's when we got to get creative, like, hey, there's Zoom and there's online stuff, so that at least gives the essence of some closeness. And as couples, it has been tricky of how do we navigate making sure that we have time for ourselves, have time for each other, have time for us as a family if we have kids, have time for me and my work because we still have to work, and time to clean the kitchen, all of those things. So everybody has been in the same boat of trying to navigate that. And I think just giving yourself some space and grace about how you've been doing it, and it's not supposed to be perfect, and you're doing the best that you can. And every day we just try to show up a little bit better and a little bit better. And so really it's that navigation of the space and the closeness, just as we've talked about.
Wow. Yes, there are plenty to do, right, Doctor?
Yes, and it's a place that it really is exciting. Again, if we look at all this as an opportunity, and it's a place that, part of the work that I do is, really empowering, couples and women specifically, is how can you just keep showing up as, brighter and brighter, and being more and more intentional, and not let things like this, like, bring us down, because so many things can bring us down if we let it. But instead, if we take charge of our own life and empower ourselves, then we can do anything, really.
We can do it. Thank you very much. That is wonderful. And with this, we thank you very much, Dr. Chelsea Page, for your time and collaboration. I'm Irma Vera for Power, Peace, and Love, where real stories of real people are shared. And please follow Dr. Chelsea Page in her social media and write to us to powerpeaceandlove.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we thank you, Dr. Chelsea. And we really, really appreciate you accepting this invitation.
Oh
Thank you
my
very much.
goodness, it's been so wonderful. Thank you so much. And yeah, you can follow me in all the places too at Dr. Chelsea Page. And I have a wonderful private women's Facebook group, the Intentional Intimacy Facebook group. So join me in there too. I would love to have you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye.